Alrighty,
Alrighty.
welcome back. Alabama Politics this week. Josh Moon, David Person, and we are thrilled, as always, whenever she has a little bit of time to join us with welcome in Congresswoman Terri Sewell. Congresswoman, how are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. Just happy to be back in DC again. And, I've been back and forth for the last 7 weeks, but some of my colleagues, the Republican colleagues, have been on vacation.
Right, yeah, yes, yeah. We know you're up against. You have to go and do the caucus meeting and the vote that's coming up, and so we wanted to get you on because of everything that's going on. But let's start with the. I don't know any other way to say it than to say that some in the Democratic Party, some senators in the Democratic Party folded
Eight of
on what
them.
8 of them, yeah, right. That folded and have agreed to the demands of the Republican Party, and now we're looking at a pretty catastrophic situation in terms of health care. It seems for the American people. I guess I think we know your stance because I did see a big hell no in a headline, and so. But I want to make sure that what your stance is on this, what you think happened, and where things go from here.
Well, let me just start by saying that nobody wins in a government shutdown. And as evident of the fact that the last 3 or 4 weeks, all I've been doing is trying to make sure that the folks back home in my district, from Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, the Black Belt, know where to go to get help for food, food assistance, nutrition assistance. And so no one wins in a government shutdown. But the House Democrats have had a steady drumbeat about the fact that so many people will be affected by the ACA cliff, in the sense that so many of the people who depend upon the Affordable Care Act do so because of a tax credit, because of the subsidy. And I can't tell you how frightening it is to have your constituents that you meet at the grocery store, and they are bringing their little letters from Blue Cross Blue Shield that show the huge increase. In fact, I had one constituent from Wilcox County. He went up his plan, the same plan, used to be $188 a month, and it went up to $1,500 a month. And so people can't afford that. And so,
No.
look, for me, I've always said from the very, very beginning that for me, I wanted to make sure that we reopen government, protect the health care of all Americans, especially those on the Affordable Care Act, and also make sure that we fully fund government and we fund SNAP. So, look, I think that the fact that several of my colleagues on the Senate side caved is very, very disappointing. I thought that after the Tuesday Democratic shellacking that we gave Republicans,
Yes.
that we had the win at our back. And frankly, this president has to be a president for everyone, not just the people that voted for him. And so to see some of us suffering, those going out without SNAP benefits, means that all of us should be concerned about that and be ready to fully fund those SNAP benefits. It's just beyond me, Josh, that this president would rather give $40 billion to Argentina than to fully fund SNAP for the month of November. I mean, all of us should be. It's incredulous that he would have these lavish parties, a Gatsby party, I don't know, some dinner tonight. And there are folks back home who literally are choosing between whether they pay their rent or they buy food, and they don't have any resources to buy food. It's just unbelievable to me. And I know that we have a lot of great food banks in Alabama. I've been highlighting a lot of them, and a lot of amazing churches that are standing in the gap. But the fact of the matter is that this president had access to a contingency fund that he could tap into. It was there as a part of the USDA specifically for emergencies like this. And
Mm-hmm.
so the fact that they would not only not fund it, but then go to court to make sure that they don't have to fund it,
Yeah.
and appeal it before the Supreme Court. It's mind-boggling to me. I think all of us should be totally, totally furious at this president and Republicans for putting us in this situation.
I agree completely with all of that. And listen, I was remiss in not saying earlier the work that you've done to kind of keep people informed. I see the stuff from your office all the time, and I've said it a bunch of times. She's the hardest working Congressperson that I've ever seen. Certainly the hardest working in this state, and does more. Seriously, I mean, you do
Yeah,
more outreach to
yeah.
people in your district than anybody. It's just I don't understand why other people aren't demanding the same things. But
Well,
you know,
they do. They do. I think that for me, it's such an honor to represent my home district. And when you have a district that has lots of needs, it's unacceptable to not be at work constantly and trying to make sure that you're convener in chief, trying to figure out how you can get better workforce development and economic development for the folks back home. And now, better health care. And so,
yes.
for me, this vote today, I said from the very beginning that we can do both. We can both reopen government and protect the health care of all Americans. And I expect us to do that. And since this bill does not do that, I will be voting no.
Right.
Yeah.
Before I pass this
Uh,
over to David real quick,
yeah.
let me ask one more thing. Is there anything once this because it looks like this will pass, and it looks like a lot of these subsidy cuts will go into effect. Is there anything that can be done in the future to help the American people who are going to be hit like that gentleman from Wilcox that with these huge increases? Is there anything that can be done going forward in the immediate future?
Yeah, hope springs eternal because I know that my Republican colleagues have folks in their district who have the same similar, huge increase in their premiums and can't afford it. I mean, in Alabama alone, we have over 400,000 Alabamians that depend upon the Affordable Care Act, and 53,000 of them, are in my district. And so I know that the rest have to be in other people's districts. And so I really do believe that a steady drumbeat. You will see me and my Democratic colleagues in the House continue to this drumbeat because it is of dire consequences to so many Americans. And so I really want folks who are listening at home to call our senators and tell them about what's going on. We have to make sure that we put the pressure where the pressure belongs, which is on this president and the Republican colleagues in the House and the Senate.
So, Congresswoman, I have a couple of questions for you. The first one is about Lowndes County. The Department of Justice has decided to renege on helping the people there who are dealing with clean water and sanitation issues. What do you think can be done moving forward to try to offset the damage of this lapse by the Department of Justice?
Yeah. Well, not only did the Department of Justice decide to renege on their promise. I mean, they literally had an investigation, and the Justice Department said that the Public Health Department in Alabama, the state of Alabama, had to do something about this, and that they would continue to monitor it. So not only when Donald Trump became into the presidency, not only did the Justice Department decide to renege on that, they also seized resources that went for water and sewer for people to be able to buy septic tanks and for nonprofits to provide those resources to the folks back in Lowndes County. I have it in Perry County. Frankly, my colleagues have it in Haleyville and all. I mean, I'm not Wiregrass. I mean, I'm not the only one that has these gaps in water and sewage. And I just think that it's just unconscionable that a basic human right like proper sanitation and clean drinking water is something that that we in America are not providing for all of our citizens. We should be doing that. And in the midst of all of this, the fact that they're seizing appropriated funds, which, by the way, David, how is that legal? How can an
Right,
act of Congress
right.
authorize a program like, the Rural Septic Tank Act, um, authorize a program, then appropriate money for that program, and then give grants to, agencies and other nonprofits for that program, and then this president comes and just snatches it back. How is that legal? An
Yeah.
act of Congress caused it. An act of Congress is the only thing that should be able to rescind it. And so, I am still on the case. I think that well, I know that so many of the churches in Lowndes County continue to provide septic tanks and raise money to help their congregants purchase septic tanks. And I will continue to try to access some of that USDA money that that I helped to get appropriated, that will actually provide the resources for water and sewer authorities throughout the state, throughout America, to be able to afford proper drinking water and sewage.
This morning, Democrats released these explosive emails about Epstein that seem to further implicate President Trump. What do you know about that, and what do you see might be happening moving forward based on what happened today?
Well, David, the Epstein files should be released. I mean, this is a campaign promise that Trump made. The hesitation all of a sudden is coincidental, right, to the fact that they won't actually swear in our colleague from Arizona, who's getting sworn in today at 4 o'clock. Finally, after 7 weeks after her election, her constituents have not had a member of Congress represent them for months now, and they've had a representative elect who just was not being sworn in. And I believe it's because she's going to be the 218th vote to sign a discharge petition that would put on the floor of the House of Representatives up or down vote on releasing the Epstein files. And, all Republicans should be voting in favor of that. And to the extent that they're not, I think it's all about making sure that we're not holding this president accountable or these wealthy men accountable for the abuse. And look, I think it's unacceptable. So I think that we're utilizing everything in the toolbox that we have. That's why you saw the ranking Democrat on the Oversight Committee, Robert Garcia, released some of those emails. And I think that it's important that we hold the proper people accountable, and we have to have transparency during this. So it is no small coincidence that not only did Republicans not come back for 7 weeks, but by not coming back for 7 weeks, they did not swear in a duly elected Democratic Congresswoman who is going to be the 218th vote for this petition to be discharged and a vote on the Epstein files to occur on the House of Representatives. We fully expect that that's going to happen today. She's going to get sworn in, and the first thing she's going to do is sign that discharge petition, and that will start the clock ticking for the Republicans, for Speaker Johnson to put it on the floor, which we think he'll do in December.
Okay.
All right. Well, listen, this is
It's a
I,
shame. I
it's
can't even, no words could, if Barack Obama had done one of the things that this president has been doing,
yes.
if Biden had done one of the things, they would be outraged that in the middle of a government shutdown, we have a president that spent more time with foreign leaders than with members of the Democratic Party to negotiate a bipartisan agreement to open up government that would fully fund government, that would protect health care. I mean, these are things that we as Americans should demand. And I can tell you that the fight continues, and I will continue to be a steady drumbeat to make sure that these Affordable Care Act tax credits are extended. They are the lifeline of so many people. And, once you have a benefit like that, to take it away is, to me, devastating. And you know that. People can't afford a 1,000% increase. I mean, I don't know what you call that, from $188 to $1,500. And this is not something that the person just told me. He actually gave me a copy of his letter that he received.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, this is
Wow.
just fact. And so there's so many people out there that are freaking out right now. And I can tell you that the insurance companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield and others, they're fully expecting that half of the people who are currently on ACA will choose not to sign up again for health insurance. And we all lose when that happens, gentlemen.
Yes.
All of us
Yeah.
lose. That
Yeah.
means more people are going to go to the emergency rooms. That means that we're all going to share that cost. So even if you get employer-based health care, you should care about making sure that Americans who have access to the Affordable Care Act continue to pay for their own health insurance.
Do you
Well,
blame I know we got to go, but do you blame Chuck Schumer like other Democrats are doing?
Look, I am furious at the 8 members of the Senate that chose to literally give in. I thought that we were showing such a force of unity as a party, and at a time when this country needed us to do that. And I think that I know Chuck Schumer voted no this time. His vote wasn't one of the votes to do it. But
Is he a
at the end
poor
of
leader, though? Do you think
yeah,
he's a
he
poor
is.
leader?
At the end of the day,
Okay.
the caucuses really are led by a leader, and that leader has to lead. I can tell you that cooler heads would have prevailed if Nancy Pelosi had been over there as the leader of the Senate. And I think that my friend Hakeem Jeffries is doing a great job of corralling all of the Democrats. Back in March, when the first CR came down, we were unanimous except for one person in voting against it. And so when they told us they're going to put the same thing on the floor in September, I didn't vote for it back in March because it wasn't a clean CR. It actually gutted, as you know, PBS. Public broadcasting. It gutted very important programs for NIH, for research for pediatric cancer, UAB, devastating to so many of those clinical and those scientific research that's going on and medical research that's going on at UAB. And I just couldn't see us doing that again. And the thing that upsets me the most, I think that the very basic thing that people elect us to do is to pass a budget. God forbid you don't have your own budget in your own household or your small business. Can you imagine government not having a budget? But the fact of the matter is that we kicked the can down the road for a whole year. So we're living under 2024 budget for all of 2025. We didn't pass a budget for 2025. And inflation is real. And this president promised to lower costs. He hadn't done that. And so all of a sudden we're supposed to live, with the same budget for another year? Absolutely not. We need to fully fund government. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to provide SNAP benefits now to people in need. The money is there. And so I just, if he can find money to build this, gilded ballroom at $300 million, and he's finding resources to pay certain law enforcement and not others. It's just unacceptable, the way that things are going down. And I truly believe that the American public will lay that at the feet of Republicans because that's where it belongs. It's a healthcare crisis that they cause. It is a government shutdown. They control every lever of government. If they want if they wanted government to be open, they could have done it way sooner than this. And so it's upsetting to me because I think that people don't really get, they're not being transparent. And we have to make sure that we're a steady drumbeat on what's really going on and how it's affecting the American people.
Well, listen, Terri Sewell on an average day is pretty good for everybody. Terri Sewell, when she get a fired up Terri Sewell, is exactly what we were hoping for.
No,
today.
Terri Sewell,
and ready to go. And I'm going to the caucus meeting, and I'm going to stand up for Alabama's 7th congressional district and tell my colleagues why we must continue this fight for health care and that we all should be voting no on this bill. Look, all of us want government to be reopened, but it is a fool's choice that you have to do one or the other. You can do both. We can do both. You can open up government and you can fully fund these affordable tax credits for the Affordable Care Act. And that's what we expect them to do. And of course, fund SNAP, please. The least of the things should be SNAP.
Well, if you see Adderholt or Palmer or Moore, some of those guys, slap them around a little bit and see if you can talk some sense into them.
We normally work well together, but this kind of social stuff is the kind of stuff that we disagree on, and I don't know why. Because we all serve people who need health care, who need clean water. It's not as if this is a Democratic problem only. This is an American problem, and we represent Americans. And this president is a president for all of us, not just for some of us. Maybe he needs a memo that tells him that.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to remind him of that, because I can't believe that his political pundits think that it's a good look that he continues to fly around the world and have lavish dinners while people don't have access to their SNAP benefits. It's simply unacceptable.
Well, and David
Well
mentioned
said.
earlier that he said he could kill somebody in the middle of the street and get away with it. Well, with these subsidy cuts, he's going to kill a lot of people,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and we'll see if he and all the rest of the Republicans can get away with it. But Congresswoman, thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Well, thank
spending
you all
time.
for being the voice of reason and for your podcast and you consistently trying to make sure that Alabamians know what's going on up here and in the State House. I really do appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for joining us and spending some time. Thank you, ma'am. That is Congresswoman Terri
Take
Sewell.
care.
Fantastic as always. If she's not your
Yes.
representative, then you need to get one like her. So, all right, we're going to slide out. We'll come back in a minute and wrap this thing up. It's Alabama Politics This Week.